Good evening, everybody. We're delighted to have you with us this evening. We're just giving it another second or so for a couple of people to log on with us. I'm absolutely delighted to have so many people with us this evening. You're in for a night that's a real treat, an evening of celebrating Black Irish icons. My name is Lorraine Maher. I am the founder and director of I Am Irish. I'm absolutely delighted to be here, and I'm delighted to be invited back as guest curator at the London Irish Centre this year to celebrate Black History Month. Seldom do we find an organisation that's brave enough to hand over the seat to make space for those who are underrepresented. Over the last few years, I've watched the Irish Centre work hard at becoming an anti-racist organisation. The Centre has really been on a journey, and the culture team have been pivotal in expanding inclusion and representation of the Irish community. It's a space that's really holding a mirror up to itself and asking the uncomfortable questions without being defensive about past mistakes. A space that's listening, taking responsibility and creating change. This year has reminded us more than ever before that Black history is everyone's history. Black history is Irish history, and it should be acknowledged all year round. I view this partnership with the London Irish Centre as an acknowledgement of our shared commitment to being a space that champions Black lives all year. This Black History Month programme has been a moment to reflect, and it's offering a moment to celebrate, a moment to bring us together, to learn, to connect, to embrace, a moment to enjoy and to celebrate. I'd like to thank the London Irish Centre, especially the culture team and all of their funders, especially Gary Dunn and Brendan, who've worked really hard alongside me to be able to bring this programme to you. I thank you to you for being on this journey with us. Thank you to all the people who are joining us tonight. I'm really, really, really excited because I Am Irish is all about really looking at perceptions of what it looks like and what it sounds like to be Irish. So I'm delighted tonight. I'm from Tipperary. I'm a biracial Irish woman, have grown up really proud of my Irish roots, have learned very, very recently about my Nigerian roots. And I feel like this is a moment that I have to acknowledge what's happening in Nigeria right now is a scandal that everybody should be outraged by. But without further ado, I'm going to Dublin to introduce my co-host for the night. I'm actually going to leave you to introduce yourself, but I'm really excited to have this person with me this evening. Leon, over to you. Tell us about yourself and why I've invited you here.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do so. And thank you so much for Lorraine for having me on. And thanks to the London Irish Centre for allowing me to co-host this event in Dublin. So a little bit about myself. I'm a biracial Irish Senegalese man. I was born in 1994 in Tallaght. I was born actually in the Coombe, and was raised in Tallaght. I was born to a Catholic mother and a Muslim father. So I would have had quite a mixed household growing up, with both religions kind of playing a bit of a role in my life. As the years went on, I, of course, like most Black and mixed race people in Ireland, I would have seen some, racial abuse, and part of being a mixed race person means having to form your own identity. I feel, as a mixed race person, it can sometimes feel like you have to either identify with the white side or identify with the black side. But it's important that in forming your identity, that you accept that you're able to identify with both sides of your family. So that's a little bit about myself. Again, thanks a million for having me on. And yeah, the next thing I'd like to talk about is Black and Irish, which is something that myself and a couple of friends set up. So what Black and Irish is trying to do, similar to the I Am Irish organization, is share the stories of Black and mixed race people growing up in Ireland. All too often our experiences can be, like, I suppose, cloaked and not shared to wider mainstream media. And what we wanted to do I suppose it was after the murder of George Floyd, we wanted to bring the discussion of race and racism back to Ireland, to, I suppose, make sure that the problem in Ireland was acknowledged. And of course, a lot of people talk about how the racism in Ireland is not the same as America, but there can be, racism in Ireland. So we wanted to bring that discussion home so that we could talk about it. We've amassed about 43,000 followers. So we want to say, massive thanks to everyone who's following the page and who's, learning about the stories and experiences of Black and mixed race people in Ireland. And I suppose we've been celebrating Black History Month as well over the last month, and we've been sharing stories from people all over the world, and it's just been an incredible experience so far. So once again, I want to say a massive thanks to Lorraine for having us on and co-hosting in Dublin.
I'm overjoyed to have you here, actually, Leon. And I think like what you're doing is incredible. And tonight is really about inspirational figures. And, as someone who's probably double your age and have grown up in Ireland, and feeling all of the same things, it's amazing to see young people really coming together who are really savvy, who, really tech savvy, being able to respond in that kind of way. And you guys have really done that. And I would say, I'm Irish is quite niche because we are looking at those that are biracial Irish. And it's been really clear over the years that the story is much wider than that. We know that there's thousands of Black people in Ireland. We know there's thousands of Black businesses in Ireland. We also know that Black people have existed in Ireland for thousands of years. But what I also know is that if you can't see it, you can't be it. And I know certainly for me growing up, the only things that I saw were I don't even want to talk about it, actually, because we've heard so much of it. So for me, I Am Irish has been about raising aspirations and about creating some of that kind of representation that we want to see, because we keep hearing about diversity. But when we hear about diversity, for me, diversity is almost like something that sits on the outside, sits alongside, and is kind of always running along. It is about representation and inclusion. And so tonight, we'll hear from a variety of different voices, but all very strongly connected in lots of ways. And I'm interested in, iconic figures, not just of the past, but there's iconic figures that we see right now, and those that we know are going to exist in the future. We just see it. We see them coming along. And I feel like you guys are that. You are icons, icons of the future. And, and I think we have, you have to hold that, because there are moments in history that people make change by having just, an idea and being brave enough to move forward with that idea. And you've done that. So I'm going to hand over to you, Leon, for a little while to introduce a couple of our guests this evening. I'm going to invite you at home to use the comment section, interact with us, ask a question, give us your own comments. I'm really interested in who you see as being inspirational Black figures. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Leon, over to you.
Of course, yeah. Before I introduce you to our first guest tonight, I'd love to, I suppose, introduce a video that was created by Ola Majeko-Dumni from Ireland. Ola is an incredible, and she is going to be one of those iconic figures in the future. She is a radio host here in Ireland with the national broadcaster RTE, and she's created this incredible video detailing what it's like in Ireland. So I'm going to ask if that video can be played first, and then I'd love to introduce our first guest after that, Jerry. So here is the video from Ola.
Hi everyone, my name is Ola Majeko-Dumni, and I am a public speaker, broadcaster, and filmmaker as well. And I just want to say a happy Black History Month to everyone. And I wish that Black History Month wasn't only 1 month, it should be all year round. And we should continue as Black people to raise our voices in terms of injustice that we face and challenges and racism. It's so important to continue to use your voice and to help make that change. And I try to do that as much as I can myself, and it's so important. And I hope everyone takes something from this video, that you're important, you're part of society, you are Irish, doesn't matter your colour, you are Irish, There's no one way an Irish person looks like. So own that, believe it. And the next time someone asks you where you from or where you really from, you tell them you're Irish, and that's it. So thank you very much. A big happy Black History Month to everyone. I'm repping some Ankara here, so I'm very proud of my Nigerian heritage. And yeah, thank you very much.
Brilliant. So that was Ola, and once again, Ola is an incredible figure here in Ireland. And as she said, Black History Month is an incredible time. It should be celebrated all year round, and it absolutely belongs to you. So next, what we'd like to do is introduce you to Jerry. Jerry is an incredible actor, up-and-coming actor in Ireland, and he's going to speak to you about some of his experiences and about an iconic figure to him. So Jerry, would you like to come on? How are you keeping?
Hello, how are you? How are you keeping, guys?
We're
Thank
good.
you so much, Lorraine, and thank you, Leon, for all of this. This is incredible, and thank you for all of your work. I'm really excited to be here. And yeah,
Brilliant. We're absolutely excited to have you on with us. So look, let's jump straight into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and what you do, and what it's been like for you getting into acting in Ireland.
okay. So my name is Jerry Iwu. I am Nigerian. I'm Igbo, and I am Biafran proudly. So I come from a family of five. I was born in Nigeria, lived there for a year, and then we moved over to Holland, and then from Holland we moved to Ireland. So I've been living in Ireland from like age 4 to like 21, and then 21 is when I got into drama school, and that took me all the way to the UK, and that's where I am right now. Yeah. So I guess like for me, I never really thought about acting, to be fair. I never really thought about it. I've always kind of been creative, but coming from a Nigerian family, as most people may know, if you come from a Nigerian family, can be quite conservative. So your choices of career can be quite limited in what you want to do. The arts doesn't really seem like one of them. So when I was growing up, I was always into dancing. I was always into hip hop and everything like that. So in my town, I come from Newbridge. There is a youth theater, and I joined that youth theater under the impression of just kind of dancing. But then they had like drama school workshops, and with time, I just slowly started doing the one workshop after the one workshop, and then fell in love with it. And it was like, this is what I want to do with the rest of my life, you know? So found myself auditioning for drama school, getting into drama school, and then coming over here.
Fantastic. And
Yeah.
tell us what is I suppose the cultural difference. You know, growing up as a I suppose a Black person in Ireland and then moving to the UK. What differences have you seen there? Just before we
Okay.
go into your icon.
Yeah, I think growing up in Ireland, because I know there's a lot of terrible experiences people have in different parts of where, to be fair, you can have horrible experiences wherever you go to. But I know in Ireland there are certain places where people have had horrible experiences. I can't necessarily say that. I can only say that my experiences were where with the kind of people I was surrounded by, it was quite good. But I know there is a weird dilemma. You're living in two worlds. You know what I mean? When I go
Yeah.
home, when I talk to my parents, I'm talking very differently than when I'm talking to my mates. Even now, the way I'm talking now is very differently than if I start talking like this. It's very different. You know what I mean? It is
Yeah, of
automatically.
course. Yeah, and I've
And
heard
it's
that
code
as well.
switching.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's code switching all the time. So
Yeah.
with that, like that experience was something that I never really acknowledged till I came into drama school. And drama school, I guess, like any university, it opens your mind to a lot of different things and a lot of microaggressions that you might not have noticed. Drama school kind of made me re in touch with my own culture, because for a long time, I was one of those people that kind of ignored the fact that I was Nigerian or didn't really accept that part of myself till I got into drama school. And then teachers were being like, what? Like I had a fantastic Claudette Williams, a Black Jamaican woman, amazing tutor. And I remember one time we had an African workshop, and the teacher that was coordinating it, he was African as well. And he said to me, he's like, what's your name? I was like, this is my name. He's like, no, what's your real name? And like Lorraine was saying earlier, you can't think of that name because that part of yourself, you're only kind of coming to terms with because you get westernized to a certain degree. You know what I mean? And that means you forget about a lot of yourself. So yeah, so I say coming here has been really pivotal in having me actually explore and accept that aspect of myself that I didn't really look at as much when I was in Ireland, you know?
Brilliant. Yeah, and that I suppose area of accepting yourself and identity is so important in today's world.
Yeah.
But look, that's absolutely fantastic. Let's have a chat a little bit about one of your icons then. You know, who's been an iconic figure to you, and why have they, I suppose, influenced you?
As an actor, have to be, and as a black Irish icon, I have to be Ruth Negga.
Brilliant.
Ruth Negga is she's an actress. She's a black Irish actress, and she's incredible. Not just as an actor, but like her, just the work that she's done. She's been on Love Hate. She has been, if you've seen Netflix, have you seen Preacher? She's been on Preacher. She's done at the National Theatre. She played Ophelia, and then she went to the Gate and played Hamlet, which is like fair play. You know what I mean? And then also the one thing that was so astonishing to me was seeing her in Loving. If you've seen that film, perfect. If you've seen her in Loving, that performance was just astonishing. So this is growing up in Ireland, especially being an actor, being a black actor and then being a black Irish actor. There's not a lot of, the Irish industry is so small, and you don't see a lot of people that represent you or look like you already within Irish media, and that's so unfortunate. But you see a woman here that not only just looks like you, but has taken her career and she has soared, and also not just soaring within her work, but doing stuff like Loving. And if you know the story of Loving, it's about an interracial couple in Virginia that have to basically fight the state to get married. So it's not just a story of just a film. It's also a film talking about real issues that are very close to a lot of our hearts, you know. So yeah, Ruth Negga is an utter inspiration, acting and just personality-wise, you know.
Brilliant. That's absolutely amazing. And look, Jerry, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That was absolutely incredible. And best of luck in your acting career going forward. I'm sure I can't wait to see it on our screens going forward. I'm sure it's going to be a very fruitful career for you. So thank you so much, Jerry.
Thank you very much. Thank you again, Lorraine. Thank you.
You're welcome, Jerry. I think it literally is just a matter of time before we see Jerry on our screens. And I have to say, I love Ruth Negga myself. Well, I was just thinking there when Jerry was speaking, you know, thinking about Nigerian culture. I grew up in Ireland at a time I wasn't connected to that side of myself at all. And there's a whole host, particularly of older mixed race Irish people in Ireland who also come, you know, they very much identify as being Irish people because they didn't have access to a Nigerian or an African ancestry in any kind of way, shape or form. But they genuinely would identify as being black, you know, or mixed, but from Ireland. So I'd like to just play a tune from someone who I think is an iconic figure, Sharon Murphy, a Galway woman. Some of you might know her from The Voice. She was mentored by Tom Jones. But I think that we'd be going to miss tonight if we didn't mention those who are just Black Irish. There isn't another identity other than that. So if we could just hear Sharon Murphy's tune.
I'm walking down the city street in a beautiful morning breeze. People moving all around, going where they need to be. The sun is out, sitting, soaking up the heat, drinking coffee or tea. A young man comes up to me. He said, "This is not where you're from. I suggest go back where you belong." I said, "Young man, just so you know, let's be clear before you go. Before you were born, I was Irish, living here." I said, "Young man, just so you know, let's be clear before you go. Before you ever lived, I was playing Irish reels and jigs." No matter what you do, We are all earth people like you, we belong here too. You have traveled the globe, and everywhere you go, you claim it as your own. Everywhere you go, you make it your own. This is where I come from. Where I belong. I said, young man, just so you know, let's be clear before you go. Before you were born, I was Irish, living here. I said, young man, just so you know, let's be clear before you go. Before you ever left, I was playing Irish reels and jigs.
Brilliant. That was absolutely excellent. It's actually my first time hearing that song, so I'm quite taken aback by it. It was an absolutely beautiful song. So look, I think the next thing that we're going to do is jump into Mida O'Brien and her daughter Kat Bamadelli reading a beautiful poem that was written by a member of the London Irish Centre. So Mida and Kat, are you both there? How are you getting on?
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you? So, Mida, really quickly, if you'd like to introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi guys, so my name is Mead Ivrian, and I'm a community worker, and I got involved with I Am Irish back in 2016 when they came to the Axis first with their exhibition. Being a mum of 5 mixed race kids, I was like, I have to go to this because I've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen any kind of representation. This is amazing. We have to go. It was a dreary, horrible, wet, typical Irish evening. And we got there. We dragged my parents as well. And it was the start of a journey, which was amazing. So I'm cheating a bit tonight. I know we're talking about icons. I know people we find inspiring, etc. And I think it's a little bit of serendipity going on because it was kind of lastminute.com that I came onto this evening.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was trying to think of, God, who can I think of? And there's loads of really young, fantastic, Black Irish young people coming up it's brilliant to see. And the first person that came to mind for me was Maya Angelou, because I think she's amazing. And like one of her quotes that I say a lot is, people will forget what you have said, people will forget what you have done, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And I mentioned that to Lorraine, and I just said, I'll think about her. And then I got off and I thought about it, and I spoke to my daughters, and I went, if I think of someone inspirational and someone that I look at today who's humble, who works their backside off, and is that person who is bringing a voice to people, it is Lorraine Maher herself. So Lorraine's going to kill me for this, and she probably won't speak to me for a while, but for me as a mum of mixed race kids, I know I can speak to all our mums and dads who are on our mixed race Irish page, and we have a private page for mums and dads on that as well. And we are like, thank you, because we needed this 20 years ago. And nobody thought of it. And for the first time, we have a support network, we have a voice, our kids have someone they can look to, the parents can talk to each other. And we have someone who had a vision and who said, do you know what? Enough now. Like, I'm Irish and I need to be seeing myself out there. I need to see more people like me. I want the young people to see more people like myself and others. And yeah, I mean, she just mentioned there about, there are moments in history when people have an idea and they have the courage to take it forward. And heck yeah, woman, you had an idea, and by God, are you taking it forward? And you are helping so many people, and you were so humble about it. I mean, she's a one-woman show, and you know, I mean, I'm exhausted sometimes on phone calls because I'm like, how the heck do you even fit half of this into your day and be a mum and a grandmum and work full time? But she does that. And I think, you know, sometimes we have to look at these people, and they are fantastic at bringing others forward and you know, trumping other people, but they never think of themselves. And she's telling me to hurry up, but she can, you know, tough luck, kiddo, because somebody had to say you're amazing, because you really are.
Absolutely.
And I know from my kids, you know, the 40 shades of I was going to say grey, and that's the wrong word. You guys can correct me. But the group that's there for young people, mixed race Irish young people. I mean, I remember when my daughters went into that Zoom meeting the first time, and Katrina, my daughter's on here now, she's going to kill me for this too, but they came out beaming like Cheshire cats, because, you know, my daughter, Katrina is my eldest, she's 21, and my other daughter is 19, and they were like, that was just so amazing. Why it was the first time they could be in a space where everybody else looked like them, everybody else understood exactly what the challenges were of being a minority within a minority, and not being understood this whole kind of, where do I fit, what am I, the whole struggle around identity. And I think what Lorraine is doing around, you know, challenging those perceptions of what does Irishness look like, what does that mean, is huge. And it's important for us to say thank you. And she's someone to kind of keep an eye on, because we have a lot of projects coming up and it's busy as hell. And I personally am so honored, and I'm so happy and delighted to even be a small part of some of the stuff that we have coming up in the background, because it really has made a huge difference to our family. We're a family, I have 5 kids. Youngest is 11, Katrina, obviously my eldest is 21. And it really is great, even talking to other parents, to know that we're not alone. Because I think there's a lot, one of the biggest things with the mixed race kind of Irishness is there just seems to be this constant feeling of aloneness. And Lorraine has smashed that barrier, because now there is, you know, there's groups, there's you know, the Facebook parents page, the young people's page, the Instagram for young, hashtag, you know, the young hashtag I'm Irish group. There's all these spaces now where people can talk and relate, and they know that no one's going to judge them or not understand. So I think that's really important. So big ups, Lorraine. You can give me a smack the next time we get to see each other, but, you know, love you lots.
Excellent, and that's it. It is so important that Lorraine is celebrated tonight as well, because she is a living icon, and I can, you know, say that a lot of her work has inspired a lot of our work in Dublin as well. So Lorraine, thank you so much for all you do, and Amita, thank you so much for that contribution. So over to you, Katrina, thank you so much for agreeing to come on and read this
No
poem.
problem.
Can we have a quick introduction to yourself, and then you can jump straight into the poem then?
My name is Katrina Umobamidele. I'm a mixed race Irish woman living in Ireland. I'm currently a full-time university student studying general business, and that's really it, to be honest. I'll jump straight into the poem. This poem was written by a Black Irish mixed race woman who would like to remain unknown at this occasion, and I hope you enjoy. Oh, sorry, the title of the poem, I should say, is The Skin That I Live In. Feck. It's hard. It makes me sad. I think it's beautiful. Makes me angry. People spend thousands trying to achieve it, yet mistreat me for it. When I'm darker, I'm treated differently than when I'm pale. I've been abused and threatened for it by Black people. I've been followed and harassed in stores for it by white people. I often feel afraid of how Black people respond to my skin color, for being too light, being too white. It's met with the same level of anxiety I feel about racism and judgment from white people. But I've never, ever woken up and wished I was born with a different skin color. I've always been proud of the way I look, and was lucky to have been raised by family and a community that uplifted me, told me I was beautiful, and raised me with a strong sense of self-love, and self-confidence. I worry about how my children will look, but that's okay. I'm happy in the skin I'm in. I just wish the world felt the same. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for that contribution. And I can feel the pride radiating from the screen here. So look, well done, and thank you so much for reading that that poem.
Alright,
So
thank
look, we're moving through it now. We'll bring on our next guest, and this is Grace Odumosu. Um, Grace is an actor from Ireland, currently living in Chicago. Grace, how are you? How are you keeping?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, of course, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on. So look, before we jump into your icon, would you like to tell us, a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, I'm going to actually read you the poem that I did for the I Am Irish real quick, and then we can kind of chat a bit about that and then about
That'd
my
be super.
icon, which we'll get to it. So
Brilliant.
again, similar to the last poem, the title is The Skin That I Live In.
Brilliant.
I grew up in a world where I couldn't see. I grew up in a world that didn't belong to me. Books and movies, magical characters. Hermione Granger could have been a black actor. Millions of roles, but none for me. A brown Irish lead, that would never be. Brown and exotic, I was unique, but she got there first. My career looked bleak. Not black, not white, nothing and other. I only saw my reflection when I looked at my brother. Call me the N-word, tell me to go home. Your fear of my skin, that's yours, that you own. You've no idea what it takes to be me. People can be mean without even intending to be. Did you put your finger into a plug? At my heart, that one did tug. I wanted to be white, to have straight hair, to be accepted as Irish, for people to care. Living in this skin, I've had to survive. If given the chance, this brown girl can thrive. This future is not written, possibilities endless. An equal, balanced world. We've all got to end this. Everyone has a journey. It's not always easy living. I just want you to see the skin that I live in.
Great. That was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. And it was so beautifully read as well. So look, tell us about the inspiration for that poem. How did that
Well,
come
it's an interesting conversation because actually both inspirations for this poem have already been talked about.
Brilliant.
The main inspiration for this poem was Lorraine and the work that she's doing with I Am Irish. It just gave me a voice. It opened my eyes. It made me not feel so alone. And we had a conversation about the skin that I live in, and I just started writing. I just started jotting things down and seeing different images and just trying to describe them and describe my life growing up in Ireland as mixed race. So yeah, Lorraine is just, I mean, what a wonderful woman.
And that's it. And I think Lorraine has had to cut off camera a couple of times, and she might be feeling all the emotions of this. But that's incredible, and it's so important that you're able to see, people who have gone before you and recognize what they've done for you. Having that, I suppose, that gratitude, to the people who've gone before you is an incredible, I suppose, showing of your character and showing that you're a really good person to be able to see that what Lorraine has done. But that was that was absolutely incredible, and it was so powerful to hear you read it. But look, let's talk a little bit about your experience then growing up and then moving to Chicago. So how was that?
Yeah, so I am an actor, and like many Irish mixed race and black actors, there wasn't a whole lot of work for me in Ireland. I would get called in for roles of like the maid or the person who was the refugee or things like that. But I was never quite black enough for those roles, and I was never quite white enough for any other roles. Not that I ever got called in for a white role. To kind of tie it together with what Jerry was talking about, Ruth Nega is one of my biggest icons now, but it wasn't always that way. And there's a line in that poem that I just wrote that said, "But she got there first. My career looked bleak." And that was what that was about. It was about, when I came out of college, I studied acting. I've been acting since I was 4. It was my escape, my way to be seen, because I didn't feel like I was seen otherwise. But when I went to college, I remember one of my tutors telling me like, "Oh, there's another mixed race Irish actor. He's doing really well. So like you'll do great." And I remember just thinking, "Oh God, now I'm no longer unique." There's not going to be, because there wasn't. It's not like there's thousands of roles for people who look like me,
Of course,
or
yeah,
people who
yeah.
sound like me.
Of course.
And so I tried for a while in Ireland, and nothing was really happening. And then I moved to Chicago to try it here.
And what has that been like then in Chicago? Have you seen more, I suppose, opportunity there for you?
I mean, yes and no. There's still not very many roles for a mixed race Irish actor.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because the accent, like, do you think your Irishness then, do you think, has impeded you then at times?
A little bit, but like here, yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm almost too Irish, and again, not dark enough. At home, it was the opposite way around. I wasn't white
Yeah.
enough to play white roles, even though I'm mixed race. But I will say that here, there's a lot more people who are willing to at least, I've been here for 6 years, so it may have changed, but this is just my experience of being at home. Is there wasn't a whole lot of people who are willing to have a white or a mixed race or a black lead in the Abbey,
Sure.
in The Plough and the Stars, or something like that. Whereas here, it's a lot more like people are willing to explore and
Sure. Yeah, and like, I suppose, think outside the box, and not really be or feel like they're confined to any restriction in that sense. So tell us about your icon then. Who would you see as an iconic figure in your life, and how have they impacted you?
I guess it's back to Ruth Nega. She, although I had a rough start when I came out and thought, "Oh, she got there first, and now there's no space for me." But in recent years, like, she's reawakened the love that I have for being an mixed race Irish actor, and outside of that, oh, there's only space for one. Like, there's millions of roles in the world. There should be space for more than just one mixed race Irish actor to make it and to be good and to be on your screens. And now I'm like, absolutely, that's where we're heading. So watch this space.
100%. And like, look, I think what's jumping to my mind is that we need to get yourself and all the other incredible Black and Irish actors together, and like write a plot for an amazing screenplay or for a movie, and like let's get that going, because you've shown that you're creating your own spaces. That's the what you need to do in this. If the opportunities aren't there, like, it shows your character that you're just going after it and you're going to get it, which is incredible. So Grace, we wish you
100%.
all the best of luck going forward. And
Thank you
again,
very much,
I can't
Leanne.
wait to see it on the screens here as well. So thanks a million for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Leanne.
No problem. Lorraine, how are you finding this? It's going so far. I'm sure you're feeling a lot of emotions. A number of people on this call are seeing you as iconic, myself included. So how's it been so far?
Well, I can't even speak now, Leon. I can't even speak. And I should have said beforehand, let's not put me in the mix tonight, because there's so many other iconic figures. Like, when I'm thinking about well, this is probably even an age thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, like, I think about Phil Lynott. I think about Christine Buckley, who's like an amazing activist. I think that there are so many. Paul McGrath, Chris Hughton. So many people that have just gone before us, that actually, I just think that we don't even really think about. When we're thinking about those people, when we're thinking in Ireland, outside of Ireland, we're just not thinking kind of that far. And another inspirational figure to me, who I think our next guest is going to talk about, is Jude Hughes. And I'll come back and tell you about something exciting that's happening, kind of moving into next year. But just to say, like, there are so many creatives that identify as being biracial or Black Irish, and so we're already working on the co-op, because we know in the UK the beginnings of Black Theatre Co-op, and we know that it's needed because we hear so many people saying the roles are just not written for us, and we've got incredible talent within the Irish diaspora. So we're coming with that. We're coming with it.
Excellent.
So I'm going to hand back to you to get on to our next guest.
Brilliant. Yeah. No worries. Thank you so much, Lorraine. And yes, absolutely. To introduce you to our next guest, we have Pádraig Farran, a budding young journalist from the west of Ireland. Pádraig, how are you keeping? How are you getting on?
I'm not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. So look, let's have a little bit of a conversation about yourself, some of your work, and then let's get right into your icon.
Well, so first is that two of my grandparents came from, and two of them came from a village in Ireland, and so that's how I exist. My work then, so I'm a journalism student at NUIG. I'm in my final year now.
Brilliant.
Which means I'll probably have to go out into the real world soon. But
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so in second year, I started this thing called the 091 Show, which was about Irish hip hop and interviewing Irish rappers, because at the time I really felt like this was one of the best ways to really get into and document the nuances and just the existence of not multiculturalism. It's a fantastic way to like express that in an Irish context, and I really cared about how it was Irish as opposed to, other just more generalized urban kind of thing. And then after that, I have a real interest in, like, Ireland is my like biggest inspiration. That's what I really care about. That's what like. Brilliant. So I have a social commentary documentary coming soon. Apart from COVID really wants to stop it happening, but yeah, that's the next thing. And like that, yeah, I just love talking about kind of the nuances and the history and the weird little oddities of being in Ireland and
excellent
today and what that means. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, that's absolutely incredible work, and I love how you're not going to let COVID stop you. You're going to keep plowing on, and you're going to make sure that these projects are finalized, which is absolutely excellent. So look, let's have a conversation then about your icon and who you look up to and how maybe they've influenced your life. So tell us a little bit about that.
I want to start with Tommy Thin and something he said recently. He was talking about how he gets such a great piece from reading the death notices in the Chronic Tribune, which is an odd thing. And he said that it gives him such a peace to know that people have gone before him, as if to say that dying isn't that big of a deal. If all these people can do it, then he can do it.
Yeah.
And I thought about that because it's quite a funny, strange story. But then relating it back to this topic, I think we as Irish people, or mixed race Irish people and Black people, I think we can all relate to not having role models or not having precedents or not quite being able to, or it takes us longer. It's a more difficult task to find your position in society. So what am I kind of a thing?
Yeah.
And actually, we have quite a few, in my opinion. I think, like Lorraine said, Paul McGrath and Phil Lynott and Christine Buckley is an amazing one as well. Lorraine as well, and Sharon Murphy. I love Sharon Murphy with all my heart. And so, getting into who my icon is, I probably should have said that already, but my icon is Jude Hughes. Now, Jude Hughes was a member of a group called the Irish Mixed Race Association, and they're quite, well, they're of an older generation than myself or yourself, but they are quite a powerful, like, there's a political aspect to it as well, that they petitioned the government, and that is why I ended up interviewing Jude.
Brilliant.
And everybody's probably seen this video of this man, this mixed race man in a tailoring shop in Grafton Street, or not Grafton Street, in Dublin. I forget the name of the street anyway. And he's talking about how he wasn't able to get his records after having grown up in an industrial school in Ireland. And so there's a deep historical, for Ireland, there's a historical thing there as well, as if to say that industrial schools and all of this. But then I went to meet him in Salt Hill for the interview, and I was just struck by what an incredible man he was, because it wasn't just about the industrial schools that he had done all of his action. He'd done amazing activism all throughout his life. He had a group called Harmony in Dublin, which was in the 60s, which was one of the real first groups that used to meet and discuss issues of race in Dublin at that time. And he said that, you know, at the time he wasn't particularly, like, he was gone tailoring. His trade was tailoring, and that he was kind of happy, and tried to go to England one time and decided he didn't really want to go, and that he'd never really thought about issues of race because he wasn't in a community like that. And then they ended up, he said he was shocked by the amount of people that came and talked about their experiences of racism living in Dublin, and that that opened his eyes. It's always, and so you just get all of these amazing histories, and as well though, I found it so fascinating to hear his talk of, like, the civil rights attitude, not as opposed to the movement, just the attitude and the way that people were in Dublin in the 60s. So he was really just a source of so much information on, like, what Ireland was, and showing me pictures of Daniel O'Connell and all of this. He's an incredible man, that's all I can say. But there's a historical importance, you might say, and when you're trying to figure out what does my position mean as a Black Irish man, meeting people like him that came before you and hearing how he got on and what he thinks, and agreeing with some of it and disagreeing with some of it, I think it's just a really amazing activity that I did. And unfortunately, I was supposed to show you the video, but it didn't. Technical difficulties. Close your Wi-Fi. The government doesn't care about this. So we're only a few years away from rural electrification, like. But yeah.
Well, look, thank you so much for sharing that. That's absolutely incredible. And Lorraine, I think you have a bit of news to share about Jude.
I do, and I'm just really excited about it. Thanks so much, Pori, because Jude has been a massive inspiration to so many of us. And, you know, I was really shocked to think that Jude had been out, particularly when we were looking at the Black Lives Matter protest this year. And I was talking to Jude, and he was telling me about him protesting before I was even born. And I was just like, oh my God, you know, he's part of the apartheid movement. That really just blew me away. That he's.
I don't feel like I've done him justice now, because it's very difficult to explain all the things that this man has done. Like,
he spent so much of his life really putting himself forward for other people. And I know, you know, having spoken to Grace and her sisters, Jude, you know, well, Jude introduced Black Santa to Ireland in the 70s, which must have been like phenomenal for children to be able to have that kind of representation back then.
Brilliant.
And one of the things that we've been talking about for such a long time, particularly on the I Am Irish Parents page, you know, there's probably 350 families, mixed race families there. And the amount of people that I've met through this work over the last 5 years, people have been talking about a day to come together to celebrate. So earlier on this year, I had Jude on for a live chat. And, you know, he talked about having a very special birthday coming up. So I decided and declared in that moment that the 11th of May 2021 is going to be Mixed Race Irish Day. It's going to be a global celebration.
Brilliant.
And that celebration has gone from being a day to being a week. So we're having a festival from the 11th to the 16th of May called Irish Roots 2021. And it's an opportunity for Irish organisations globally to come together to just celebrate what happens when we come together, to really look at who we are as Irish people of mixed ethnicity. Because let's face it, there's 80 million of us across the world. We don't all look the same. We don't all sound the same. So it's a real opportunity to just celebrate who we are as Irish people. So I'm like super psyched about that, like super psyched about that.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I'm so excited for this. Like that's going to be incredible.
And I think, you know, like with I Am Irish, so I decided at the beginning that I Am Irish is going to be a movement, because a movement can be led and shift in lots of different directions, and anyone can be doing anything at any one time. And I think what's exciting about Irish Roots is the opportunity for everybody to get involved. And I want, you know, all educational establishments in Ireland to really be looking at their own I Am Irish exhibitions, to work with the children, to look locally, to really be able to look at representation in whatever space that you're in globally, and you know, to have a day to just celebrate us. That isn't St. Patrick's Day, that isn't even Black History Month, that isn't like culture night. It's a day to really think about who we are as Irish people in that particular way. So just talking about the I Am Irish Parents Group, and I just wanted to mention that there's been a couple of poems tonight entitled The Skin That I Live In, and that came from the fact, so I'm currently doing an artist, and I'm an artist in residence at Access in Ballymun in Dublin, and obviously with COVID it's really limited what I could do, you know, moving from Ireland to Dublin. So I gave lots of different people a provocation, and the provocation was The Skin That I Live In, and as part of the work that I've been doing at the London Irish Centre throughout October, it's given us the opportunity to be able to take the I Am Irish exhibition online. And so some of the responses form part of that exhibition now. So there's some music, there's some dance, there's some poetry, there's some songs that speak to that. So for those of you that are listening and want to see some of that other work, have a look, licexhibits.org, and you'll be able to see these poems again and see some other work that's been created. But as I said, we also, and I think Mida talked about it earlier on, I Am Irish has lots of different groups that we don't always talk about publicly, but there's lots of different spaces that connect people. And one of those is the parents page. And I feel like it's really important that parents of children who identify as being biracial are also part of this conversation when we're thinking about how we celebrate Black history, because the only way that we can ensure that history is passed down is, you know, the first place we get that from, the first place we get educated is at home, or for those that are our caretakers. They're the first people that tell us about history. So it's important that they are part of a wider conversation. So Leon, I'm going to hand back over to you to introduce our next guest.
Brilliant. Yeah. So to introduce our next guest, I want to introduce Joanne Webb. Joanne, are you on the call? How are you keeping?
Good. How are you doing, Leon?
Brilliant. And Joanne, you're going to talk to us tonight about an inspiration for your play. Is that correct?
I am. Yeah, I'm currently making a show through Druid in Galway through their Fuel program, which is about my experience of being a parent of a biracial child. So yeah, I mean, the influences, this was kind of a last minute thing to come on this evening. So I didn't know we only had to pick one. So I've got like a 2-page list of icons, because for me, the last year has been immersed in looking at what it means to be biracial in Ireland, and all the prejudice that's around that, and how to examine it and how to put that on a stage. So I've had help from so many different, and Lorraine will probably kill us all. But if that group didn't exist, if the I Am Irish parents group didn't exist, I wouldn't be making this show. So, Lorraine, I'm sorry, she's gonna kill us. But there's also been so many other icons for me, influences for me. Joy Tendai and Diana Hirway from the Rooted in Ireland and Africa network. Aisling O'Neill, the mother of Mia O'Neill, who took her own life after racial bullying. She's an incredible woman who's doing so much in Ireland to raise awareness around hate crime. You know, there's been so many influences for me in terms of people who are out there and who are speaking up and who are saying, you know, it looks different now. Irish people are not red-haired and green-eyed, and you know, and it's yeah. So you know, and I'm from Limerick, so I have to be talking about Denise Chyla.
Brilliant, yeah.
Her work is just incredible. Like dual citizenship alone, that you know, it just encompasses so much. I think. Rosengano family, Felly Speaks. There's so many people that I've looked to trying to make this work for the last year, and it's just it's incredible. I mean, I raised my son for the first 5 years in Kenya, and coming back here, we felt quite lost, you know, and that suddenly realizing you don't really know where you fit in.
Yeah, it's
difficult to be, we'll say, in the Kenyan community, but it's also difficult to sort of feel, and that seeing my son growing up in that and growing up in an Ireland where, you know, he'll often say, when someone asks him where he's from, he'll say, oh, I'm Kenyan. And when he's in Kenya, he'll say he's from Ireland. And I asked him one day, you know, why do you say that? Why do you not say and he said, well, because Mom, what they're really asking you is, where are you really from? You know, they're not saying, oh, are you from Galway? They're saying, you know, why is your skin that color?
That's it.
So that's what my show is attempting to look at, that weird space, because at the end of the day, I am a white Irish woman, and I'm never going to understand the experience of the skin that he lives in.
That's it, and like it just goes to show that while you might not physically experience it yourself, that you're going like above and beyond to understand it and to try and continue to, you know, fight for that person's fight for your son's identity, essentially, and make sure that he feels comfortable in his own skin, and that's, you know, an incredible piece of work that you're doing. And I believe that you have a piece that you want to share with us this evening.
I do, yeah. This is a piece of writing which I guess reflects a little bit of what I'm trying to do in the show, maybe really awkwardly. So yeah, I'll share it if it's okay. It's called A Love Letter to Prejudice on the Emerald Isle. To my aunt, who loved me with every fibre of her being and told me each time I came home from London how proud she was of me and my good new job, and to never come home with a darkie. To my friend's dad, who gave me a job within a week of returning to Ireland so I could get a visa quickly for my Kenyan partner, and who said a few months later, I don't hire niggers, when I handed him the CV of a qualified man searching for work. This educated, brilliant man whom I adore. To my uncle, who said of my little 3-year-old, make sure he smiles when we take the picture or we won't see him. Ha ha ha. To my mother's best friend, lost for so many years, who gave me the warmest embrace in the Isle of Little and then said, make sure you don't leave him at home with his dad. We often find they come to church and they've left their little children at home. We tell them they can't do that here, but they just don't listen. To my friend who took me aside to say, I don't like the way your son is dancing. It's too sexy and my son is copying it, when he was about 8 years old. He dances as he danced in the village under the sun, in the way his body moves. I get it. I too used to watch small girls shake their bum and put a sexual narrative onto it until I realized that's just the way they move. To my brother, who after a few glasses of wine asked, come here, but is it true what they say about black men and sticks? To myself, who dreamed that my son was being bullied at school for the colour of his skin, who turned up to the house to confront the child's parents, who knocked on the door and said who I was. Who? Noah's mom? Who's Noah? You know, the kid with the big afro. Oh, you're Noah's mom. Yes. Mounting frustration. Look, I don't know if you're aware of what your son has been saying to Noah, but let me stop you there. You and I both know that my son's actually better. I mean, I get it. You've got a brown kid, so you have to kind of make it seem like you think they're equal, but the anger rising and then, yeah, sorry. No, you're right. Absolutely. But you know how it is. And I walk away. In the dream, I walk away and I wake up in a cold sweat and I ask myself, am I too a racist? To us humans afraid, to the woman in the post office who just wants someone to understand her and who gets confused with all the new accents and people she doesn't recognize, to the man who barks at a child in an ATM because he's seen one too many cop shows where the black dude is always a crim and so automatically he thinks my kid is going to rob him. To you who's only known white skin and Catholic repression and potatoes and pasta, who is fascinated and afraid of what you're drawn to, like a magnet in repulsion and attraction and confusion, I see you. To you who doesn't know if you can say black or brown and who's so afraid of messing up, you never move forward, you never reach out, though you try sometimes with a shy smile that isn't seen. To you that's afraid of the shaking bums and the loud foreign tongues and the different gods and the familiarity and closeness of another human being that doesn't look like you, I feel you. To you that's so genuinely scared that our culture and our homes and our women will be taken, to you, I try to see me in you, to step back into that dream, to remember that you too carry colonization in your bones, you too carry a stolen land and dignity and manhood cut in your blood and on your soul, that maybe deep, deep down you really do love and you really do want to protect. I do want to make space for you too in this love letter to us. And ultimately to you who came out of my body, you who does a traveller character in the middle of Duns with your huge big hair and won't shut up when I tell you it's racist, who runs down the prom with your friend being Indians asking if anyone wants to eat in Abu's fish shop. The head shake is too much. Who asked me, would you say that if I was white? When I ask you to take down your hoodie. Who came home from school saying, Mom, everyone says Trump hates all brown people and is going to kill us. Your little face ashen with shock. And who just today said, Dad told me sometimes we have to dress better to be taken seriously. You who I can't protect from all this mess. We in Ireland are masters of shame. It's inside us, seeped into the brown soil of this fertile green land. It is bestowed upon us in the holy waters of our baptism. It's at the edge of our secret thoughts, in our bedrooms and wardrobes and Garda stations. As we attempt to slough it off, we use it as a weapon of left and right. You racist, you lefty loon, you nigger lover, Irish hater, misogynist. I would never be like you. You are wrong. You are other. To all of you, to all of me, please, can we just start talking again and showing our beautiful, messy, prejudiced Irish hearts so we can have real conversations for once. That's it.
Whoa.
Wow.
Whoa.
That was striking. If I can say that, Lorraine. Like the imagery that you painted there was very, very strong, and I must say, like it was very powerful. Lorraine, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was about to say the same thing. You just took us on such a journey that I just totally resonated with. And I think that one of the things that I often talk about, Joe, even is being a mixed race woman of a particular age and growing up in a completely white Irish family. Sometimes people forget that I'm not. So I've also heard and been privy to all of those conversations, like that they could have been my family members, they could have been my friends, they could have. I'm super psyched for the play. Like I'm just like, woo, bring it,
Absolutely,
bring
my
it,
God.
because it
Can't
just
wait.
it's so powerful, Joe. So powerful. You know, thank you so much for coming and sharing this tonight. And it was so last minute that, you know, I was like, Joe, come on. And I was like, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. You know, I can't wait for the play, Joe. I really can't wait for the Joe.
Thank you so much. And
to be honest, just even hearing what I've heard is something that I need to just sit with and, you know, be able to respond to it, because it's really powerful, really, really powerful. And I know that you've spoken to lots of parents, so I know that, you know, there's a collective voice, but it really resonates across all of those hundreds of families. You know, I've just heard this time and time and time and time and time again. And what's also been really telling is, you know, taking this work all over the world, and there's always, every place that I've gone, and Leon, I don't know if you've had this experience, but everywhere I've gone, there's always one person that will call me to the side and say, I've got a cousin that, I've got a grandchild that, I've got a, but they never own it in the space. They never own it in the space. It's always, and on the side is always that othering. So, that's just really powerful, Joe. Thank you so much for that. Thank you
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you for the privilege of being here. I really, so appreciate it. Thank you.
We need you. We need that voice. We needed to hear that.
100%.
Thank you very much for sharing that with us. I just wanted to say, for those of you that are listening in tonight, Reggie Snow was supposed to be with us this evening, who is an absolute iconic figure of the moment, but due to unforeseen circumstances couldn't. But he's actually sent me some clips that he wanted to share with you, so we're just trying to get them downloaded. But while we do that, I would like to introduce you to our next guest. I'm actually going to ask for one of her poems. She's going to share some poems with us, but I'm going to ask for one to be shared first, and then we're going to speak to her. Ibn, Brendan, if you could just play that track for me, please, and Ibn will speak to you when that's finished.
Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for hearing me. Thank you for hearing me.
No matter where I go in the world, I'm interrogated about where I'm from. Why is it so hard to believe you can be black and Irish? Do you not remember the Afro-Celts that walked before me, that put this island on the map? Do you need to be reminded of Phil Lynott and Paul McGrath? Actually, I'll remind you of Raquel Baptiste, Mrs. Crowe, that sang across this country in the 1700s, or the children the Catholic Church institutionalised for decades. How about the 3,000 freed slaves arriving on our 18th century shores? Tradesmen, painters, musicians and activists find another whose rights are denied. In England, skin colour felt secondary for once. Now, I'm overreacting to famine jokes. Now, all Irish women get around, so no wonder I'm black. No wonder I see through every veil, every masquerade and intention, because my ancestors spent centuries fighting those who orchestrate illusions. I've only lived in times of recycled trends and traditions. I use the past instead of the media, where our stories are kept so hidden. If taught about visits to Ireland by civil rights leaders who supported our fight for our occupied counties, maybe my father wouldn't have needed more than his education and banking experience to work in 1980s Irish banks. If we knew of the Black Irish still singing sean-nós on the Caribbean islands, my mother wouldn't have been labelled a traitor. Yet, the signs that read "No blacks, no dogs, no Irish" were ingrained in me since birth. My unique perspective resonates with Black and Irish surviving America together in the not-so-distant past, or those who were denied cultural assimilation in 1950s England. This unique perspective gave me understanding that I am not oppressed. If I believe I am oppressed, I play into an inferior role. The hands of those who want to be superior. the hands of those who declare they're not racist, now expecting an award. Marching for social media, choosing to stay quiet for the child that risked his life for the smartphone you use to broadcast pleas and ultimatums. No blacks, no dogs, no Irish, no longer covers shop windows. The energy now dispersed in distractions from the root. The roots I straightened every morning of secondary school will be the roots my niece twists in all its natural kink. No crying for freedom, our tears are but temporary healers. We claim our freedom and equality through our resilience, our innovative thought, our folklore, our literature, our music, our dancing, our cultures, our traditions. Education, organisation, integration, and the right to your own opinion can only be a catalyst in healing preconceptions.
Even though a lot of that is that every time that I hear that, it just really, really touches me. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Eben Olua. I'm an artist from Dublin, do as set designer, prop maker, and poet. And thank you so much, Lorraine, for having me on. Honestly, it's such a pleasure to be like in a community again where we can all celebrate each other. There's just like, there's not enough, especially at this time, for us all to be together and still be able to like share our art. It's just really great to be part of it. So thank you, Lorraine, for having me on.
You're so welcome. But you know, just as you were speaking, I've learned something new about you. You're a prop maker. You're another one to come into the co-op. Another one to come into the vault.
You're saying this, we've had actors and people in theater, like we all have the skills that we can all work together and really make something amazing. So definitely set design, prop making, I'm in.
Oh my God, I was getting so excited when I just heard that. So tell us, what was your inspiration for that poem?
So my inspiration for that poem was like, I just felt like that all of that had kind of been on my chest my whole life, and then it just got out there. And it was just the timing as well, like everyone was kind of having their voice heard, so I felt like it would be like, I just didn't even really think about it. I just came up with it and we recorded it all in one day. Like it was just straight from the heart, like things that I had experienced, like I said, of like the difference growing up in Ireland and it always being about being mixed race or being black, and then moving to England when I went to university for a few years, and then it was always about being Irish, like just constant jokes, and like it wasn't even really about being black anymore. And it kind of, even though the house that I grew up in, I kind of always saw the similarities between being Irish and Nigerian, like both communities have so many similarities. But then it wasn't until moving to England that I really saw even more similarities, being like, geez, it's kind of always going to be something, you know, that people will have something to say about. But yeah, I just think it gives us like a stronger identity of who we are. Really.
To be honest with you, I've always thought that. Now I would say that my experiences are probably more aligned to the Caribbean, because you know my children's dad's from the Caribbean, their family is from the Caribbean, and I've got a lot of Caribbean friends. Although that I know I've got Nigerian ancestry, but what I've always thought in traveling to so many of the different islands in the Caribbean, there's so much similarities between Ireland and the Caribbean. And actually, even when we think like throughout history, there's been so many times that we've been like that, you know, as we're going along, from thinking about, from the freedom fighters to the Black Panthers, you know, thinking about Frederick Douglass and Daniel O'Donnell, and thinking about in the 60s, the no dogs, no blacks, no Irish. There's been so much that has just linked us all the way along. So actually there's so much to be celebrated about who we are. So tell me, who's your inspirational figure?
Okay, so when you asked me this, it was really hard because there's just so many people. I was thinking of different stages in my life, you know, of who kind of So when I was really young, probably the only person that I knew to look up to was, who was a great inspiration, is Samantha Mumba. Like as a child, she was someone that I was like, oh my God, she looks like me, she sounds like me. I loved singing and dancing as well then, so I really related to her. But then I was thinking of like, I've had all these different people throughout different stages of my life, but someone that kind of represents past, present, and future is Rosemary Adesir. But Rosemary Adesir, I know she's a friend of yours, Lorraine, who of the first time, I didn't even realize it was her that set up the, I know Porrig mentioned it, the Mixed Race Irish Association page. That would have been like the first page I ever saw of Irish mixed race people, like a community that was set up like years and years ago. And I was so excited. I remember like sending it to my mom straight away, being like, you have to check this out. Like there's so many people with the same story as us. And like, just as well, the fact that she's such an activist and fighting, like she's been telling her story like for such a long time. And people, you know, people that lived in mother and baby homes, like it just keeps getting swept under the rug again and again. And I've always found her such an icon. Like even that video that we just played, Where Are You From? Like when that released, I sent it to Rosemary straight away and was like, thank you. Like I had to thank her, because if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have, like, she gave me the confidence to actually say how I felt and to speak about what I've gone through, because she would have been like the first mixed race woman, you know, the same age in my mom's age group, who I've never met someone that was like a good bit older than me that would have gone through experiences that I went through like 30, 40 years before. So yeah, Rosemary is definitely a massive inspiration and icon to me.
Thank you, but I'm sure she'll be delighted to be hearing that. And you know, when Porrick spoke about Jude is, I was also part of the Association of Mixed Race Irish when, you know, we set up, and just to say, because there's something really specific about that I think that we need to be championing more, and that is the unjust treatment that there was of mixed race children in the Irish industrial homes. And we saw yesterday the government, you know, putting a seal, like refusing people access to find out who they are. And that group has been really championing that, you know, taking that to the United Nations, which was the first place really that there was a real acknowledgement of the unjust treatment of Black people in Ireland, you know, historically. So I think it's really important that we kind of note those moments.
Exactly, so, and it can't stop now, you know, we have to do something that those records can't be sealed, and to stop people from like a basic human right, really.
It's just the beginning. This tonight just feels like, you know, every time I feel like we do things like this, it feels like they're historic moments, but they are just the beginning. We're just scratching the surface. So Eben, you're going to share another poem with us now.
Yes.
Okay.
So this poem is just a new poem that I've written about Ota Benga, who is behind me here on the screen, and I'll just explain it in the poem. Ota Benga, Auto Bank, Ota Benga, Artiba, Ota Benga, Ota Bang, satisfaction in devaluing. Ota Benga, native of the Kasai River forests, no self-classification of pygmy, muti, bambuti, or aka, to this day will not so, teeth sharpened prevailing courage as a hunter of the Congo. Force publique, force destruction, the role to hunt extended life. Questions linger, devastation, was the curse surviving wife and children. Captured and sold for salt and cloth, 5 Bakuba men coaxed with deceit. 1904, the year of a retreat. 6 Africans on display at the Louisiana Purchase Exposition and St. Louis World Fair, not knowing what to do. Africans mimic the war cries of Geronimo, traveling in a human zoo. Samuel Phillips Werner, the handler of human beings, no longer could handle the army controlling the mobs that stormed the lost souls so ignorantly. Passed into the hands of the American Museum of Natural History, Otabenga was kept. Otabenga is kept. A bust cast engraved pygmy, unidentified, unclassified, unjustified, over 100 years in counting, a still commodity. 1906, Bronx, New York. Samuel Phillips Werner, William Hornaday, Madison Grant. Identify, classify, justify. Cage in the Bronx Zoo. 23 years, a young man caged in the Bronx Zoo. Not a word of objection from the thousands stampeding. No account of incredulous stares. Group mentality, unable, unaware that each soul is shared. Black clergymen devout to morality see a young man stripped of opportunity, personality. New York Times identifies, handled by grace, handled with thorns. Howard colored orphan society, a creek in a bleak hallway, still no sight of normality. Lynchburg, Virginia, as close as his being was to a community, a being, not a soul, learns English and works at a tobacco factory. The soul still dreaming of the African sun, denied with brute force by World War I. March 20th of 1916, a year of rebellion, refusal to take a knee. Each tooth capped, masking cultural identity. The journey home commences with a snap of each cap, a ritual that presents itself as the only way out of the trap. His fire broader than a visual representation. There is no fireside like your own fireside, the definition of this devastation. One shot through the heart transcends the soul back to the start. One shot as Otabenga, thriving free in a lifetime never to be classified as pygmy. Thank you.
Yvonne, that is so deep. I feel like I just want to know, what is your inspiration behind that poem?
So it's just such a unbelievable story that I think just like people wouldn't believe it if you didn't see the images. Like this image here, this is Otabenga, who was a man from the Congo that was basically captured and was paraded around America, like in the Natural History Museum, the Bronx Zoo, a few different places, you know, where he was just tortured his whole life, really. And at the end of his life, he basically takes his own life because he can't see a way out. Like all he wanted to do was to go home, but there was just so many things that even though he was absolutely tortured, and it's not like I can't like compare to anything I've gone through. But even at the start, when I'm listing, like his name is Otabenga, and just reading different newspaper reports of how they constantly just called him different things because they couldn't be bothered to learn his name properly, or to like just give him the respect to call him a pygmy, which is actually like a derogatory term for tribesmen of the Congo, and just never getting the respect. I just felt like he really needed, I just wanted his story to be heard and for him to have his platform, especially during Black History Month. It's like, I just thought it was a good opportunity to get his story out there.
Thank you so much for bringing life to that, because also he was not the only person in the world that was seen in that way. You know, we know that there were people in circuses. We know that the unjust treatment that we've had like for centuries. So thank you so much for sharing that story tonight. Thank you so much for being here. So our next guest this evening is a young woman. Well, actually, I'm going to introduce her in a minute to introduce herself. But before we go on to that, actually, I think that we're ready to share Reggie's little message to us. He's really apologetic that he couldn't be here with us this evening, but wanted to send in a little clip. So if we can just see those clips, please.
Hey, Lauren and Co. Sorry, I'm outside sending this video, but hope everybody's good. The reason for me doing this outside, I'm not going to share, but it is what it is. Somebody that to me was always somebody I always looked to growing up was Paul McGrath. He was the kind of amplified black figure, Irish black figure in my household. So he was always a reference point for what I could achieve outside of Ireland. So, you know, when you think of Paul McGrath, I remember going away on holiday and he was a name that came up quite a lot when somebody would realise that I was black and Irish. So, yeah, Paul McGrath, for those who don't know, was a football player. And I learned a lot from him, his story. I read his book, obviously. There was a lot to take from that, but seeing how he kind of transcended what it meant to be black and Irish on a global scale was very influential for me. And he was always a big reference point. And I was never really one to kind of look at heroes of mine on the color of their skin. It was more, you know, what they did, that character, and he kind of exemplified that perfectly. So, Paul McGrath, and the thing about being black and Irish, it's a very confusing thing. It's also something that, as you kind of navigate through life, you can encounter a lot of kind of, but where you're really from, or these kind of questions, which can be very impactful. It can be very kind of, it can make you think a lot and question a lot, and you don't really know. It can give you a lot of identity issues. You kind of look at yourself and say, you know, where actually am I really from? And for a lot of people that don't have a good sense of community around them, that might be a lot harder. For me, it wasn't so hard because I kind of had that support system community-wise where I always felt welcome no matter what, and if there was incidents of racism or prejudice, there was always someone there to protect me from that, as well as protecting myself. I feel my mom did a good job in installing these principles that I kind of upheld throughout my life. And she always told me I was half Irish, half African, so I never didn't know where my roots were. And of course, as a kid, I always wanted to kind of be more Irish because I felt this kind of thing where it's like I'm different, and being different, there wasn't too many things that kind of lended themselves to my difference. But at the same time, that's something that you kind of navigate through and you learn as you get older, which I think I did. And I think now, as I'm kind of the age I am now, and I get through life, and I know who I am as a person, nobody can ever tell me otherwise of where I am from. And I think when I do tell people now I'm Irish, I'm able to say that confidently, mainly within myself. I think those things never come up as much now because I think when you know yourself, there's a certain energy that is given, that kind of stuff. But I've been very fortunate to be able to get to this place just from having a good support system and good friends and just people that never made me feel like I wasn't Irish. So yeah, I think a lot of young people that are struggling with identity issues, struggling with racism in Ireland, I think it's very important to keep coming together as a Black and Irish community because our voices do matter so much, and I think more than ever, as there's been a huge, at least when I was younger, there wasn't as many people of colour in Ireland. I didn't see them anyway. Didn't have any friends that were coloured, so feel like now we're living in a different time where there needs to be more of an understanding from the Irish, you know, the quote unquote real Irish people, that, you know, people that are coming here. A lot of them want to be Irish and want to be seen as Irish, and want to be identified as Irish, and want to say that they're Irish, and, you know, are happily proud to do that. So there needs to be, you know, an understanding. And I think it's great that there's so many voices now being amplified, especially with social media, which is the best tool. I think that tool in itself is, you know, should always be seen as a resource to learn and gain knowledge and understanding, especially for people now. I think that's one of the biggest things in the world right now, is just us understanding each other on a common level and taking it from there, because I feel the world's in a very divisive place. So, as you know, as a Black and Irish community, I don't for one want to speak on behalf of anybody or everybody, because that would be wouldn't be doing people justice. I know everyone's got their own individual story to tell and to share, and also they're going through. But for me, I've never confided in being Black. Again, it's just a pigment. So much so to the point I don't call myself Black. But that's a whole other thing to get into. But I think for one, if I could give any advice to people, is to look beyond the colour of your skin in terms of what you're able to achieve in this world. And I think take it from there, and you'll notice a lot of more doors opening, you know what I mean? And I think as someone that's grown up in Ireland since 1993, I can hand on my heart say Irish people don't get enough credit in the fact that we are a very embracing people. And I think for anyone coming over here that's off colour, from a different background, you know, use that to your advantage, whereas most other countries in the world, you will get more of a cold shoulder. So I think it's great that there's more awareness being raised on issues regarding racism and discrimination, and that matters a lot. Of course, America has its problems, but nothing like Ireland at all. But again, there's still issues that need to be talked about. But it's a wonderful country. I'm very proud to be from there, 100%. I think the Irish are the most genuine people that I've encountered on my navigation through planet Earth. But that's just to say that I hope everyone stays blessed and safe out here. I'm absolutely freezing my bollocks off, so I'm gonna go. But I'm good. I couldn't make the chat. But look forward to speaking to some people. DM me if anyone wants to talk further about anything. Love and respect. Thanks, Lorraine. See you later, guys. Thanks.
That was Reggie Snow, and he's really unfortunate that he couldn't be here this evening. He did send, there were a couple of video clips, but we couldn't get them downloaded in time to be able to show them. So we were just able to share the audio. But he just sent his apologies, and he really wanted to be with us this evening. So before I introduce the next guest, I actually would like to just hear, she's recorded something for us, and I'd like to share that with you, and then we'll bring her on for a chat. Just give us a second so we can get it loaded.
Everyone, it's your girl London Official, and today I'm going to be singing / rapping a song that I created last year with my friend and business partner Christian Generals. We made this song for Black History Month in the Irish Embassy, as it was the first time ever the Irish Embassy was hosting a Black History Month event. I'm sure if it wasn't for COVID-19 that we would be doing the same thing this year. However, it's not going to stop us. You can't keep a good thing down. So on behalf, I'd like to say thank you to Lorraine, to the I Am Irish Committee, to the Mixed Race Association, and to the London Irish Centre for making this possible. Today I'm going to be singing a song called We've Come a Long Way, because even though there is so much more for us to do as humanity, we have to sometimes pat ourselves on the back, but there are people doing the right thing in this world. So let me stop talking.
Can I just ask if we could just hold this track for a minute, please, because we're not actually getting the imagery to go with it. So while we do that, can I just invite London to just join me here, and we'll see if we can get the track sorted out.
Hey, yeah.
Hey, hey, Evo. Not sure what's happening with our video clips this evening. We've had a little bit of an issue with it, but we'll just see if we can get it sorted out. And then if we don't manage to get it sorted out, we can see your beautiful face, and then we can hear your music. So one of the things that, like, you've been on the I Am Irish journey with us from the longest time. And one of the things that always just fascinated me is, so you're mixed race Irish from Anguilla, and just the stories of Irish town and things, they just fascinated me. So just tell us a little bit about you.
So it's a bit complicated, I guess, but I'll try to begin. So I was born in England, and I left before I could really remember anything about it. And I moved to Anguilla. So my mom's Irish, she was born in Tuam, Galway, and my dad, he was born in Anguilla, and they met in England, and they wanted to give me and my brother like a different way of life. What was the really strange thing, when I moved to Anguilla, I moved to a part of Anguilla where everyone looked like me. They were my color skin. And in the beginning, I didn't really realize that it was like, let's say, the majority of the population was predominantly Black. And then you had this little part of the island that was a fishing village that everyone was my color skin. And the penny hadn't dropped when I was really young. Then with my mom being Irish, we found some history that the place used to be called Ireland Harbour. And so it was really interesting that everyone had last names like Webster, Kelly, Smith, Harrigan, all of these last names, and there wasn't a lot of conversation about Irishness. So me and my mom, we kind of started to ask some of the locals to really understand, like, how is it that like everyone has Irish last names in this place? And apparently, like really long time ago, like in the 1700s, an Irish ship crashed on the coast of Anguilla, and instead of leaving, the Anguillian people that were there welcomed the Irish sailors, and they settled and continued to do probably what they would normally be doing in Ireland, such as fishing, and developed a whole community on the side of Anguilla that became Ireland Harbour. And so it was really interesting, and the stories that some of the older people have, because I'd say it was only maybe like 3 generations back. So if you go back 3 generations, someone knows real stories of when the boat crashed and stuff. And some of the stories is just really interesting, and how the people lived in harmony and intertwined to, by 2020, everyone on that side of the island kind of has my skin color. It's really interesting. I never thought of anything like that before.
It's such an interesting story, London. It's a really interesting story, but I'm going to ask you, I really want to hear your music, because you know I love your music anyway. Within your little video clip, and we may be hearing this twice. So last year, we had the first ever Black History Month event at the Irish Embassy in London, and you came and performed there, and you've performed on the stage for St. Patrick's Day as part of the I Am Irish collective. So you're very much a part of the I Am Irish family. And I know that there was one song that you sang, it's probably in 2017, maybe 2018, but it's just never left me. And it had lyrics like, no matter if I'm blackish or whitish, together, you know the lyrics, they're your lyrics.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in your inspiration for your music. And then I'm interested in hearing about who you see as an inspirational Black Irish figure.
Like for the inspiration of my music, I've kind of, it's been my kind of only outlet to show the frustration that it feels to be mixed, and then mixed in a way that I've also been mixed growing up in a predominantly Black country and in a predominantly white country, and to be called white in a predominantly Black country, and then to be called Black in a predominantly white country, it kind of messes with your self-identity, and of how for you a color wasn't an issue until it became an issue for other people. And then you have to find, what do you call yourself? Okay, mixed race, but I've also been taught that there's only one race. So what am I mixed with? And then, okay, so now it's dual heritage, it's more politically correct. And it's not, I don't really think it's mixed race people given these labels. I think it's external forces finding a name to call me. And so my art kind of comes with that deliberate unity that we have to see past the color thing, and we have to see past the mixed thing, and we have to start appreciating culture and, you know, heritage. And really, if you look at it, it doesn't have much to do with color. You know, it's about who we are. And genetics will always change. Genetics will always make people look different, but it's about accepting each other's journey, you know?
Which goes back to what I said at the beginning, you know, when we're thinking specifically around Black history, it's everybody's history, because actually it's the history of people, humans. And we know that race is a social construct. We know, you know, there's how many times that I've spoken to people who society deems to be white, and they've said, well, I didn't realize I was white until someone pointed it out. Or someone, you know, I know people that have come from the African continent that said, I didn't know I was Black until I came to a Western country. You know, we know that all of this exists, and often actually to keep us divided, but there's so much more that unites us than keeps us apart. And history, it's really important for us to understand history, because particularly when we're thinking in the context of the African continent, often we're showing history as starting with slavery, but you know, there was so much of a rich history in Africa before slavery, and we need to hear all of those kind of narratives and to change the narratives that we've been given, so that we can be proud of the skin that we're in, regardless of what shade that we are. London, I'm gonna see if we have got your video tuned up now, and if we may just be able to hear it. Here we go.
I'm going to be singing / rapping a song that I created last year with my friend and business partner, Christian Generals. We made this song for Black History Month in the Irish Embassy, as it was the first time ever the Irish Embassy was hosting a Black History Month event. I'm sure if it wasn't for COVID-19 that we would be doing the same thing this year. However, it's not going to stop us. You can't keep a good thing down. So on behalf, I'd like to say thank you to Lorraine, to the I Am Irish Committee, to the Mixed Race Association, and to the London Irish Centre for making this possible. Today I'm going to be singing a song called We've Come a Long Way, because even though there is so much more for us to do as humanity, we have to sometimes pat ourselves on the back that there are people doing the right thing in this world. So let me stop talking and just sing. I hope you can vibe, and yeah, let's go. London. We've come a long way. We've come a long way. Community. We've come a long way. 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 Humanity. Yeah. We've come a long way. We've come a long way. I'm feeling liberated in a place so calculated. When nothing happens off the top, it is all stimulated. Nothing's for free and you can get caught up in overpayment. But don't blame me because I'm just another victim to it. But you see, I am happy. Got knocked down before, got up eventually. Soldier status, but too proud to salute. I'm a wild card, taming of the brood. I look after myself, yes, and that is the truth. Cause when I was with them, I lost out on the loot. There's no I in team, but there is an enterprise. They took it right before our eyes. We've come a long way. We've come a long way. Community. We've come a long way. 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 I'm so dedicated, dedication of the dedicated. Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther, emancipated. No bullshit in my life because I don't accommodate it. Why would I let you in to mess up something I created? I'm a happy child. birthday and belated. And I could finally say that I finally made it. I made it where I am, but I ain't finished growing. I'm only 20 something, got some time to finish growing. I told the truth because I thought it would be nice and knowing. But now you know what your colors coming, your colors showing. And all I gotta say is haters rest in peace. Got no time for the drama, I don't want the beef. I'm more interested in the chicken and the money going chingin', the chingin', the chingin', 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 chingin'. Hey, another flip that I be giving. That's why I'm always in the studio singing that we've come a long way. We've come a long way. Community, we've come a long way. 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 Hey. Come a long way. Yo. Yeah. I'm so different in the Caribbean, making frost, young generation. Some people tend to call us lost. The ones that do just old and can't accept change. Turn bad into good, be great, and we still strange. We got zones being classified by any range. Though I got class, the cheapest brand I ever wear is Hanes. Little comedy, who looking for a stiff coat? But don't make fun of me, you're looking for a woo woo. Hey, life is about feeling good, being happy, and doing what you can to make tomorrow a better place. So big up yourself for being a part of this, bigging up yourself for being a part of the audience, and I really wish everyone continues to have a good time today and have a good life. We've come a long way. Thank you very much.
Woo! We really have come a long way, London. We've come a long way. We had some technical problems, but this video is going to stay on the Irish Centre's page for a little while, and we'll be able to edit that in. So please, people, come back and have a look. I was just about to call you Eva, and you know I'll always call you Eva. Eva, London official, amazing as always. London, before we just finish up with you this evening, just tell us about one inspirational figure from the Black Irish community that is an inspiration to you.
Oh, my one's a bit abstract, but I'm kind of privileged that I have the platform to talk about this. It goes back to Anguilla because we all know that the Caribbean has a bit of a sticky conversation when it comes to history of how colonialization is a bit dark sometimes. However, Anguilla has a unique story where it was a part of St. Kitts, Nevis and Anguilla wasn't really being treated fairly by St. Kitts and Nevis. And so there was an Anguillian revolution that was led by a man called James Ronald Webster. And James Ronald Webster is a man of Irish descent, which would have been here today, but he died, unfortunately. And so he is what Anguilla calls the father of the nation. He single-handedly funded the Anguillan Revolution because he was left some money by a farmer people that he worked for in St. Martin. If it wasn't for him, Anguilla wouldn't be what it is today. It wouldn't be a British overseas territory, because what had to happen is Anguilla had to become a republic where he applied to the United Nations for help because they wanted to be independent. And if it wasn't for him and pushing the movement, Anguilla wouldn't really know the version of events that it has today. So I don't know if you can see, but this is a picture of James Ronald Webster. And this is a first edition book written by him. It's a bit of an archive at the moment. And yeah, I just want to use this platform to know that there's a Black Irish guy out there that kind of is responsible for the reason Anguilla is away from St. Kitts and Nevis now and has a better quality of life.
That's phenomenal. London, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Leon, I'm just thinking, like, it feels like we've been around the world tonight.
Absolutely, it's an incredible.
It feels like being around the world.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about all that you've heard and seen tonight?
I think this has been probably one of the most eye-opening events I've ever attended. Hearing some of the stories have been absolutely incredible. Hearing about your icons has been amazing, and how they've influenced you, and and even sharing those icons, because a lot of the people who've been mentioned, I would see as quite influential in my life and in my work as well. I just want to say, obviously, a massive thank you to everyone who's tuned in tonight to watch and to listen to these, wonderful trailblazing people share their stories and share their icons. Want to say a massive thanks to the London Irish Centre for having me on and having me hosting. Massive thanks to everyone who shared their story and shared their icons as well. And above all, I don't. It would be remiss of me not to say it, but Lorraine, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate every single moment sharing a platform with you. This is your legacy. Do you know what I mean? Look at what you're creating. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so honored to be a part of it. You know, everything that you're creating is everything that you touch is turned into gold. And I know for myself, as a young mixed race, like Black and Irish man, getting to see and following your footsteps is just absolutely incredible. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you so much, Leon. I'm feeling quite emotional now, so I'm not going to go there. I definitely ain't going to go there. Before we end up tonight, I'm going to invite everyone to come back on, and we'll kind of finish up tonight with a video that was created by a young man called Tommy Hamza, who runs a Twitter account called Black Irish Media. And Tommy created that platform because he just felt like there was a real underrepresentation in the media. And it feels really important that we continue to see and hear different voices that are representing Ireland. I just wanted to give everyone like a massive, massive round of applause this evening. Thank you so much for being here, for being part of this journey. I want to thank the London Irish Centre and all its funders for making this possible. This is the kind of last Black History Month event on the London Irish Centre platform. The I Am Irish exhibition is still up. It's going to be up for another while. Have a look. We'll put the details in the comments, but it's licexhibits.org. Please do have a look, because the people that are there, the people that are represented there, the people that have contributed have all done it for free because they just, they wanted to be part of this conversation. They wanted to add to representation of the Black Irish experience. And this is just the beginning. Like, I can't wait until we're all together on a stage or on a platform. And you've heard it here tonight. We've got all of the creatives actually literally on your screen right now. You can see the makings of the co-op is right here. Black Theatre Co-op Ireland. We're there. We're coming to you with the shows, with the plays. We're bringing it. You see the creativity. There is so much for Ireland as a country to feel proud of. When I'm looking at the screen in front of me tonight, I feel just overcome with pride for the sense of who we are as Irish people. And this is a real opportunity for you at home to spend a moment just bringing this conversation to somebody else that you're talking about. Continue having conversations about representation and inclusion within the global Irish diaspora. We are vast, we are many, we come in 40 shades plus, but we're all Irish. So I'm going to bid you all a good night. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much to Jerry, to Ebon, to Joanne, to Mida, to London, Katrina, to Grace, Leon, thank you so much. And another big thank you to someone who hasn't come on, but actually he's been behind the scenes. And I'm going to invite you to come on, Brendan. You probably don't want to, but I'm going to invite you here anyway. Oh, and look who's with us, Grace. Brendan, thank you so much. Brendan has been at the back of all of the onlines that's come out, from storytelling to online chats to music, trying to get everything, getting all the last minute changes. Brendan, it's been an absolute honor and a pleasure to work with you. The London Irish Centre are so lucky to have you at the helm. Thank you, Brendan.
Thank you, Lorraine, and thank you on behalf of everyone at the centre as well, for making this possible and for really steering it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. I see Porrick is not here, but I also wanted to say a massive shout out to Porrick and a massive shout out to Alex, Reggie Snow, for being with us tonight. You've been amazing, as always, been amazing. We're really looking forward to continue in this work and to continue to see representation, not just on the London Irish Centre platform, but on platforms of Irish centres across the globe. And that's my reach out to you from now. Irish Roots 2021 is coming up in May. If you want to work with us, get in touch, hit up the I Am Irish pages. All of these people that you've seen tonight all have social media platforms. Find them, follow them. If you can't find them, reach out to me on I Am Black&Irish on any of the platforms, and I'll put you in contact, because it's really important that we're making these connections, not just opening up a door for ourselves, but opening up a door for everyone else to come with us and to bring people along with us. That's really important. So we're going to play out tonight with Tommy's video, and the video that he wants to share is a video of people that he sees as icons within the Irish community. And one of the people that's on there that hasn't been mentioned tonight, who's like a contemporary inspiration, but she's a patron of I Am Irish, and that's Emma Dabbery. And I feel like tonight we'd be missing if we didn't mention Emma tonight. Thank you very much for being with us, and good night. Please stay to watch the video. That we've used London's track tonight. Nicely placed on top of the music. I'd like to thank you for being with us throughout October. I'd like to thank you for your questions, comments. Thank you for all your interest. Being on this journey. Proud in our Irish. No one is born hating. #I'm Irish. Good night.